Jerrold Colton and Eagles insider, Dave Spadaro.
Good evening and welcome to Chickies and Pete in Marlton, New Jersey. The All-Pro Philly Show. We are here every Monday during Eagles season. Myself, Jerrold Colton, my co-host Dave Spadaro, joined by an Eagles player every weekend. We are here on what is a glorious Monday in the Delaware Valley.
Jerrold, it's not Monday. It's Victory Monday.
Victory Monday.
That's
Welcome to Victory Monday here at Chickies and Pete. And the season got off to a weird start because first we had a game on Friday.
Yeah.
And then we had a Monday night game, which we don't need to talk about anymore. But this is our first Victory Monday of what hopefully is many. So Dave and I have known each other for at least 3 decades, and he's been the Eagles insider for a super long time. He's been through Super Bowl championships as well as off seasons. But when he landed in Philadelphia, coming back with the Eagles from New Orleans yesterday, called me right away. And I got to tell you, that was as excited as I've heard you after a regular season victory. You were so excited about that win down in New Orleans.
I mean, I think people need to put things in perspective. And for the Eagles to come on a short week against a team that everyone was hyping as the best team in the NFL, 91 points scored, defense outstanding, tons of injuries for the Eagles, defense getting just ripped apart, criticized, to go into New Orleans. It was not a perfect game. We know that. But to come out with a win, as the former Eagles legend and Eagles member of the Eagles Hall of Fame, Ron Jaworski says, they never ask you how. They ask you how many. And to get out of New Orleans with a victory, Jerrold, I thought it was extremely significant. Told me a lot about this football team, about the fight this team has, about the resilience. And as Nick Sirianni said, how everybody has each other's back. And I think that will serve this football team very, very well.
That's an awesome setup for the person who's sitting between us. And one of the Eagles who was a part of it yesterday, playing on that field at the Mercedes-Benz Superdome in New Orleans. And he's relatively new to the Philadelphia Eagles, but we're getting to know him more both as a player, and we're going to get to know him here as a person. And you're going to love this guy. And he actually pinch hit today. Dave, thanks for grabbing him, because Britton Covey was going to be here, and Britton unfortunately was one of the guys who suffered an injury. So I'm really pleased to introduce and welcome Thomas. And I'm going to start with just Thomas instead of Earl, but his big real name. Thomas Booker, number 69 of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah, man. Hey, listen, we are excited, Thomas, because you have a story that everybody can relate to. You have a very valuable role and growing role on the team, and the defense was lights out yesterday. So we want you to share with us what exactly was going on the field before the game last week. We had a lot to talk to you about. And thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
We do want to hear. Take us with you as what it was like to be down in New Orleans, to be part of that Philadelphia Eagles team, going into the game, coming out of it.
Man, when you talk about like a electric atmosphere, especially in the NFL, there's few places that are going to be close to the Superdome. It's absolutely incredible to see the Eagles fans that traveled and the Saints fans that were jeering and booing us when we came in. But being able to come in there with the vaunted team that they had, averaging around 45 points a game, and hold them down to 12, and have numerous stops when we have an interception or a fumble or even a block kick, and being able to make a stand consistently. I think it's a testament to the coaching staff, my teammates, and just our fortitude as a group.
It was more than that from the standpoint of the fans, the media, and I'm not sure if you pay attention to it. The amount of criticism the run defense in particular, was receiving all week. Are you immune to that stuff, Thomas? Do you hear it? Are you aware of what people are saying?
I think you're always aware of it. There's a lot of media everywhere, Twitter, TV, all the rest of it. You see it. But at the end of the day, within the walls of the organization, the facility, we knew what we had to do in terms of being on top of our details, being more physical, being more prepared, all the rest of it. At the end of the day, the practice work that you put in usually shows up on game day. So I think we had a great week of practice that, showed itself on this biggest stage.
Were the guys pissed off?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think we have a standard that we play towards that we didn't meet the previous week. And only thing you can do is go to the drawing board, assess what you can assess, take the negatives in stride and build on the positives. And that's what we try to do.
And Thomas, from my standpoint, it's always great where if one one side of the ball isn't doing as well as normally, and the other side picks them up. And listen, you have things on this final statistics sheet that normally indicate victory. There was the yardage total was outrageous how much more the Philadelphia Eagles had than the New Orleans Saints yesterday. I mean, it was 460 to 219. That's crazy. Time of possession, 32 minutes to less than 28, and a whole bunch of other factors. Obviously, tremendous rushing game again from Saquon.
That guy, 26.
And it was just you dominate everything except some very critical statistics that can change games. Those are turnovers, a couple of fourth downs that you didn't convert, a block punt, which you put that together, it kind of like works out as 5 turnovers to some extent. But the defense never let up. You get up 3 points early and then not again until the fourth quarter. So it was really a spectacular performance.
And in that time, New Orleans had 44 total yards and 2 first downs. And it all starts, Thomas, at the line of scrimmage. Take us into the line of scrimmage. What were you guys doing?
And that's a team that had set historic numbers in the first 2 weeks.
They had scored on 15 straight possessions with their starters, and then they scored on the first possession of the game yesterday, and that was it for 3 quarters.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, they have a vaunted offense. They've got Alvin Kamara, Derek Carr, a line that's been playing really well together. I think at the end of the day, when you put hands on people and you're physical, a lot of things change. I think that's something we didn't do enough of the previous week, along with some other schematic things. But when it came down to it, we were physical. We got off the ball. And, you look at Jalen Carter, you look at Jordan Davis, Milton Williams, everybody that was out there, like they were setting the tone. As a defensive line group, we believe in like throwing waves of guys at you. So that's what we tried to do. And everybody, I think, rung the bell with that.
I thought it was one of Carter's best games as a pro.
Absolutely.
As far as impact. 2 passes defended, a sack, and a whole bunch of other stuff. A little getting into it with the New Orleans crowd.
Hey, JC is a spirited player, and when you're locked in like that and you're dominating like that, it's hard not to get emotional. So I definitely feel where he's coming from.
Here's a question I have, though, or what I want to talk about. I don't know if you know who the name Jari Evans, but Jari was my partner in the show. I was his agent as a player. He should be going to Canton in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He's an assistant offensive line coach in New Orleans, and he is very proud of his offensive line. He's been sending me all these clips of them mauling and killing people, and you made reference to being physical. You saw on tape, I'm sure, that was a really physical offensive line from New Orleans.
Absolutely.
And you guys responded in kind.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they based their game off of, wide zone and all the rest of it, and getting guys to run to the side and all that. So the way that you stop that is you put hands on people, you stay square, and you allow yourself to make adjustments because they've got a really dynamic running back in Alvin Kamara that will punish you for committing too early, not staying in your gaps, all the rest of it. So it definitely. When you have coaching trees in the NFL, there's a lot of guys that come from the Shanahan tree, where they like to run wide zone. And we've happened to run into a lot of those teams. It's a pretty, popular like meta, I guess, for the league currently this year, specifically with how much people are running the ball versus like the cover 2 and cover 4 looks that we're seeing. But yeah, no, it depends on who you play, and we've gotten a lot of those offenses the first couple of weeks.
I'm curious as in your preparation for games and how the season goes on, because practice from my perspective on the outside has changed a lot over the years, and they limit the contact and the hitting. But you on the Philadelphia Eagles have one of the best offensive lines in football, and we know that.
I would venture to say the best.
And New Orleans wants to argue that, but after yesterday, I would venture that you put proof positive, as well as lost your left side and still.
Man, really shout out to Tyler Steen and Fred Johnson. Those guys stepped in at a time when we needed them to, and made a ton of great plays.
Bechter went down. He's doing a great job at left guard, but Lane Johnson, who was right guard, and then Lane Johnson, your right tackle, who will definitely be going to Canton someday, went down. And normally you lose your right side like that against a team like that, that spells doom. And those guys both stepped in and did fabulously. But I'm curious for you, when you practice against that Eagles offensive line, does that help prepare you when you go against a team like the New Orleans Saints?
Absolutely. I think you look at Landon Dickerson, Jordan Mailata, those guys, they're probably, 350, 360. So that's about 700 pounds.
Jordan's more than that.
Yeah. that might be Jordan on a cut. But yeah, no, when you look at those guys, it's a 700 plus pound double team that you're going to be dealing with from guys that are, obviously paid like some of the best because they are some of the best. So when you go from dealing with that on a practice stage to a game, you're shocked. You're like, okay, I can definitely deal with what's going on right
It's
now.
easier, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of those things where you want to get scout team reps against the ones because those are some of the best guys in the league. Those are reps that come at a premium. Absolutely.
So fans want to know, hey, from one week to the next, it looked like yesterday's team was much more urgent. Is that the way you see it, Thomas, or did it just happen to feel better, execution better? Was the intensity the same weeks 1, 2, and 3? Do you think? Like how do you see it on the field? When you're in it, how do you feel it?
Yeah, I think it's just like a level of being locked in. I think that everybody on the field and everybody on the sideline always wants to be as intense as possible. But I think with this week of practice and the urgency that we've seen from the numbers that we let up last week, there was a bit more urgency and intensity this coming week. You could tell in the huddles with CJ or CD, just the way that he was talking to the guys and how we were responding. Everyone was so locked in and dialed in. You could tell there was an energy on the sideline that even in a hostile territory, we knew exactly what we had to do and that they shouldn't have been scoring on it.
The rotation, the group that you have at defensive tackle, it's you, it's JC, it's Jordan Davis. Who am I missing?
Milton.
Milton, yeah, Milton, of course, and Morrow, who's playing great too.
Mm-hmm.
You guys, iron sharpens iron kind of thing?
Absolutely. I think the way that we look at it is it's all, friendly competition, but we all know that, as we continue to grind together, challenge each other and all the rest of it, the play of the entire group will increase, and for us, we like throwing waves, like I said earlier. So when we can keep guys fresh and, playing at an elite level, it just builds off of it, and just more and more guys get a chance to eat, that's what we want to do.
And Thomas, as going back to the theme we started the show with, that there's nothing but a beautiful victory. Every one of them is, and they're so hard to come by in the
Absolutely.
NFL. But you have played 3 games now that all came down basically to the last second.
Yep.
Every single one of them could have gone either way. So that's got to be an incredibly intense, draining thing. And then huge relief. And it's just great to be 2-1 after those 3 games. Could have been 0-3, could have been 3-0, but 2-1's pretty good.
Absolutely. I think what it teaches you, though, is that you just have to be very present, I think when you start thinking too large scale about things, the nervousness starts coming. But when you just lock in and be like, okay, I'm just going to, take care of my 111, my box, that's what we talk about, dominate your box, then everything becomes a lot more simplified. You're not as nervous about what's going to go down because I handle my job. I trust everybody else to do theirs. As a team, as a defense, we will come together and do what we need to do.
No, God damn.
End of the game, Eagles have the football down, 3rd and 16. Where are you? How are you watching the game? Are you watching it on the boards? What's going through your mind? What was your reaction?
And to set that up, I mean,
Yeah.
you're down at that point, 12-7, and you need a touchdown, and you can't really give up that football at that point and expect to win. So this is it. It's do or die, and
it's not cutting
16.
time. Yeah.
So go ahead.
I think I was watching it when I was sitting down, so I was looking up at the big screen. But at the end of the day, you have faith in the playmakers that we have on offense. You have faith in Jalen. You have faith in Dallas and Saquon in the offensive line and all the rest of those guys. And we're seeing it up here. Saquon, he's a guy that can take it to the house whenever you need to. And Dallas, as you saw, 10 catches, 170 yards, all the rest of it. He is a top tight end in the league. So at the end of the day, you trust those guys to make plays because you've seen it in practice, you've seen it in games. And, my dad likes to say, the trend is your friend. So, their trend is being playmakers.
I actually thought New Orleans let the Eagles score in the next play. Did you feel that at all?
Oh, that's
I actually
very
do feel-
possible. Very possible.
I feel like they did. Am I wrong?
I couldn't tell you. I don't know. It looked like the offensive line got a pretty good jump on the ball, but I could see that potentially being a strategic thing they tried to do, but I'm not sure.
And then for the 3rd week in a row, the defense is on the field at the end of the game. Your thoughts on, what is going through the defense's mind? You want to be in that situation. You want to close out the game. That last play, pressure up front, throw that Reed makes a great diving interception. What happened with that defensive sequence?
First off, Reed tends to have some kind of knack for those game-ending interceptions,
He's the
specifically diving and catching them. He had the same thing happen in Brazil.
And that was a heck of a catch.
Yeah. Absolutely. Reed is that guy. But I think as a defense, you always look to those pressure-filled situations where you can end the game on your terms. I think we had a great performance throughout the day, so what better way to cap it off by ending it,
And Thomas, one of the things about being part of the Eagles, and I know you broke into the league as a Houston Texan. We're drafted by them in 2022. They don't have the following that the Eagles do, but no one has the following like the Eagles do. So wherever you go, there's a lot of green and a lot of Eagles fans making noise. But that dome, I've been in that dome a lot of times. That's a loud place and pretty supportive of the New Orleans Saints. How was the crowd yesterday, and were you hearing any Eagle support?
Oh my gosh, you could ask any guy on the sideline. The sideline that we had was populated with Eagles fans. You saw a lot of Kelly Green, you saw a lot of Midnight Green, all that. You could hear them. It sounded like the Saints were in a road game when the offense was out there on occasion. And specifically when Saquon broke that run, man, the stadium got as loud as any other play that the Saints had made. So, shout out to the Eagles faithful for traveling with us and always showing us support.
At one point, the Eagles defense was on the field urging the fans to make more noise because the Eagles fans were that loud, that present. And yeah, a totally amazing turnout by the Eagles fans. And it will be the same Sunday in Tampa.
I have a great feeling about that.
Yeah.
So when you got to the locker room and a whole lot of guys had stepped up, and it wasn't a game that was easy at any point, how'd it feel?
Man, it felt amazing. When you put together a performance like that with, your brothers, these guys that you run with every single day, it just builds the trust even more. When you go through adverse situations, that's the beautiful thing about football. It's all adverse situations. So as you go through those things throughout the season, throughout the training camp, you just get more and more trust from the guys next to you. They're going to do what they need to do and make plays.
And when you watch film, did you go, how did I not intercept that pass?
I was about to get that one too.
It would have been crazy if I was able to one hand, left hand grab that one like Dallas.
Right.
I'll have to put that in the film for next week.
They may have had you play both sides.
They may need it this week.
Hey, I played both sides not in college, in high school. So, if they ever need me to do anything, a little package, I would definitely be down for that. But that was one of those plays where I actually didn't know that he was going to throw the ball because he has a really, really quick release. So when I came around and I seen him, pumping the ball, I was like, okay, I got to get a hand up. And it just so happens the timing and the placement was perfect, so I got the ball down.
So close with all that green in front of you.
Yeah, I know.
Next time,
oh my
man.
gosh. Oh my
Work
gosh.
on that. Get on the jugs machine to practice this week.
Say less.
But you did give reference. We'll talk a little more about your personal story, but taking yourself back to high school, and that was in Baltimore. So you were nearby in high school.
About an hour 30 away on train.
So how many of your family make it up to Eagles games?
Man, a lot of them do. So it's actually
that
funny.
Could be very costly for you.
Yeah. A lot of them will probably foot their own bill for the tickets, so I appreciate them for that. But actually, my godbrother is from Philadelphia originally. His name's Reese Whitley. He was a swimmer. He actually went to Cal Berkeley. He's actually on the cover of Sports Illustrated for the Sports Illustrated Kids edition. He's the Kid of the Year.
Wait,
actually.
where did you go to high school? Did you
Went
go
to
to Penn Charter?
Yeah.
I knew of him.
So
and my son went to Penn Charter, so I remember they had this great local kid.
Yeah, so I think when he was 16 or 17 years old, he was, getting interviewed by Will Smith. Playing, so it's been great.
And what made you pick football over swimming? Just kidding.
300 pounds in the water.
Yeah, I think Reese might have had more of the prototypical body type for that than me, so I decided to go with the gridiron.
I think you made the right choice. When we come back, we'll get more into your journey to get to Philadelphia. It took you from Baltimore all the way to the West Coast, the Atlantic Coast Athletic or the Atlantic Coast Conference, but we'll talk about all those things. And really a great Philadelphia Eagles victory yesterday. It's so exciting to hear you talk about it and hear how much it feels inside of you.
Yes.
And hopefully something to really build on as a football team.
Absolutely.
So we're just underway here on the All Pro Philly Show live from Chickies and Pete's. If you're listening to us and you're near Marlton, New Jersey, please stop them by. Shows are going to be going on for the next hour and a half. After we give way to the blind side, that's two former Eagles offensive linemen and Todd Hermans and Trey Thomas, and they'll be breaking it down. But it's Dave Spadaro, Thomas Booker, Jerrold Colton. We're here on the All Pro Philly Show on Fox Sports The Gambler and streaming as well on YouTube. We'll be right back.
iHeartRadio brings you Global Citizen Festival 2024 from New York City at Central Park's Great Lawn. Live performances from Post Malone, Doja Cat, Jelly Roll, Benson Boone, and more. Join the movement to end extreme poverty now, one action at a time at globalcitizenfestival.com. Hear the entire festival live on the iHeartRadio app all day this Saturday, and the best of the best moments on the free iHeartRadio app's Hit Nation station Saturday night at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific.
Fox Sports Radio, The Gambler. Now, total traffic for Philadelphia.
We've got jam traffic on 95 northbound from the Platte Bridge at Broad Street. That's Philly's volume. South of 95, heavy Cotman to the Betsy Ross. Then Penn's Landing to Packer Avenue. Eastbound Skiggles, Blue Route to Belmont. Then Jam Boulevard to South. And westbound stacked up City to Belmont. Blue Route southbound. So Route 1 to Media Swarthmore. And northbound 95 past McDade. To tell it, total traffic.
This report is sponsored by Bank of America. Bank of America has powerful digital solutions for local and global businesses, so you can make every move matter. Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. Bank of America NA. Copyright 2024.
Hello, parents. It is Mr. Jim. And did you know it's time for story time? My podcast, Kids Short Stories, was created for our own kids. You see, my wife loved the stories I was telling to them at bedtime, and she wanted me to record them so that they could listen to them in the car or maybe during quiet time. It's now been downloaded millions of times by kids all around the world as we turn their ideas into amazing adventures. You see, kids send in their story ideas, and then I create an awesome adventure about them. Maybe they're stopping the bad guy, finding a lost treasure, or riding a unicorn through the clouds. With a new adventure every single day, we have a lot of fun together. And it also decreases screen time, which we all know that battle. Well, my friends, search for me, Mr. Jim, or Kid Short Stories. So listen to Kid Short Stories on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Are you guys ready for today's adventure? Me too, let's go!
Hey, if you're listening to me right now, I have one thing every business needs most: attention. Think about it. We swipe and scroll past stuff all day. But when we're driving, cooking, and working out, we're also listening. That's the magic of audio at iHeart. We're in your next customer's ears while they're living life and listening, just like you are right now. So get your customers to listen up today using radio, digital, and podcasts. Visit iHeartAdvertising.com. That's iHeartAdvertising.com.
Wow, it's you, the Capital One Bank guy.
That's what they call me.
Mind if I get a selfie?
Yeah, sure thing. Say no fees or minimums on your Capital One checking account.
Wow, that's a keeper. So, where are you heading?
I'm off to spread the good news that Capital One helps people keep more money in their wallet with no overdraft fees.
Oh, you're the best Capital One Bank guy.
Hey, mind if I get a selfie?
Sure.
Say, Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com/bank for details. Capital One NA, member FDIC.
Hey, man, you all right? Need me to call 911? No, call Top Dog Law. Get top dollar for your accident at TopDogLaw.com. Once again, that's TopDogLaw.com.
Welcome back to Chickies and Pete and the All-Pro Philly Players Show. We are in Marlton, New Jersey, as we are every Monday night. I'm Jerrold Colton with my co-host Dave Spadaro, Eagles Insider, and we're just reveling in a great Eagles victory yesterday over the New Orleans Saints down at the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. And
2-1, Jerrold. You're digging 2-1. You're feeling good about 2-1, right?
I love 2-1, especially when you were 1-1 before the game.
True.
Before the season, I might have said I won 3-0. I'm a little greedy, but right now, very, very happy with 2-1, especially it was such a weird first 3 weeks of the National Football League. So to be at 2-1, to be atop the NFC East standings right now is a good start.
When do you think Gerald's going to regulate? When are we going to find out what teams are all about? I think we still have 2 or 3 more weeks of finding of variance in the league.
Let me tell our audience also, Thomas Booker, the Philadelphia Eagles, number 69 defensive tackles here as well. Thomas, do you have an opinion on that?
Shoot, I think, it's obviously very hard to win in the league week to week. So there is probably going to be variance throughout the season. But I think as you see, teams start to develop towards the midway point, you can start to see some of the, team and all the rest of it. But honestly, again, this is a football league about adjustment, so there's always a revolving carousel of guys that are, succeeding, failing, and all the rest. So you just have to be locked in week by week.
And the other part, Dave, and I talk about this all the time, you don't win the Super Bowl in September,
right?
But you can lose it.
Yes.
So starting the season 2-1, if for the teams that are 0-3, they're already in almost desperation mode. The statistics say it's so hard for them to even make the playoffs. So to sit at 2-1 is a decent start.
We are in the first quarter of a long season. and
longer than ever now.
And again, all you want to do is stay healthy, which the Eagles are, knock on wood here, no super long-term injuries, I don't think. And they're winning. And if you can get through this next game, the bye week, which we all 3 weeks ago said, oh, the bye week is so early. Oh, it's too early. When the bye week arrives, everybody's going to say it is here at the exact right time, because it's always here at the exact right time.
Well, Thomas, you can speak to that because you go through training camp, then you start the season. You're probably going to welcome that bye week in a couple weeks, are you?
Yeah, no, I think all the guys benefit from it for sure, because you're playing a lot of football. It's a 17-week regular season. 18 if you count that bye week, and then also with the playoffs, you could potentially be out there for 21, 22, whatever, how many weeks. So you take the rest when you can get it, to get your body back and all the rest of it. But yeah, the bye week definitely, always comes at the right time somehow.
And the other part that I like about yesterday, Dave, is that I think it's good, and Thomas kind of alluded to this, to not play your best football, still get the victory, and know there's a lot of things to improve upon.
You want to build and build and build and play your best football late regular season into the postseason, peak at that time. Although I wonder how you feel about this, guys. Do you think that one game carries over into the next game, or is every game a brand new start?
I'll put it this way. I think that it depends on your preparation. I think that when you have a gutsy win like this, as long as you take the right things from it and you keep that exact same attitude and urgency and intensity week over week, I absolutely do think that it can carry on. But you have to attack each and every single game like its own challenge. I think that's what we've challenged ourselves to do, is just to stay present in the moment, not even talking about the week, but what are we doing today? Is it a third down day? Is it a red zone day? All the rest of it. And the more minute you get into those details, the more success that you stack on top of each other, because you're not looking too far ahead.
All right, let's transition into something, if it's okay, because I've interviewed Thomas a few times here. And, frankly, at the beginning of training camp, there wasn't a whole lot of conversation about Thomas Booker. We were wondering, who is Thomas Booker? What is Thomas Booker going to make the roster? And when you did, and we talked about your preseason, and since we've talked since then, you've referenced staying in the moment, being present where you are. This is a mindset that is very important for people to understand. Can you explain how you've come to that realization that kind of that's what life's all about for you, and performance is all about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think even when I was a kid, my dad has told me, he always appreciated how present I was. We would always think of during the wintertime, what kind of summer camps do you want to do? What sports do you want to do? All the rest of it. And I would say, like, Dad, can we just focus on like right now, like this week? And for him, he kind of sat back and he was probably a little bit annoyed at it at first. And then he kind of realized, like, no, he's just very much where his feet are. So that's kind of how I've always rocked. I've always tried to exhibit high effort in small doses on a day-to-day basis.
Well, obviously, yeah. But
And you said that you approach every moment like it's a huge moment. We talked about late in the preseason game against the Patriots. That was really like the start of your production in the preseason. And so I've actually adopted that mentality, and I kind of always had it, but I've been reminded of it, doing things that maybe I didn't think they were like huge assignments, but I've been reminded that every assignment, every opportunity that you have, make it into a huge event and give your best effort and treat it like it's center stage.
Absolutely. I think that, how you do anything is how you do everything to a certain extent. So when you continuously place like a priority on performance and high effort and all the little things that you do, you're not surprised or nervous in the big moments, because you have now trained your body, your mind, your spirit to do that all the time.
We're here with Thomas Booker at Chickies and Pete in Marlton. You're going to be seeing a lot more of this guy on the field and hopefully in the community, because you're just such a great addition to the Philadelphia area. But everybody talks about how meaningless NFL preseason games are now, except for the guys like Thomas Booker. And truly, and I looked at you and your performance, and Dave just alluded to it, how you made big plays at the end of the New England game to preserve a victory and then got more of an opportunity. Without that preseason game, you might not be sitting here with us right now.
Absolutely. And I think, again, like the way that I look at it is anytime that you get to step out onto an NFL field, whether that's a practice field or an actual game field, that's an opportunity to build your resume. to show what you've grown as a player and all the rest of it. So, to the people that say the preseason games are meaningless, yes, they do not have an effect on the regular season record necessarily. But any single time that you get to step out on the football field against some of the best guys that play the sport, that's a fantastic opportunity to prove yourself, and to prove yourself right about the work that you put in and just to gain confidence.
And you know that you're putting down that tape, not just for the Philadelphia Eagles, for the other 31 teams to look at in case the Eagles decided to go in another direction. You've got a great team here with a lot of good defensive linemen and defensive tackles already. So it was hard to make it, and yet you made it, and here you are.
Yes, sir. Yeah, no, it's honestly a blessing. We have a fantastic defensive line room. I could talk about all those guys, all day. Those are my brothers. So, it's a blessing to be, with them and be able to work with them every day.
Thomas, when did football start? So tell us about the journey. When did football become a big part of your life in Baltimore, and how'd you get to the ACC? Well, it wasn't the ACC back then. Stanford University. It was back then Pac-12.
Shout out to the boys for being Syracuse, by the way. Shout out to them boys.
There you go. And then you and the NFL and being drafted in Houston and what happened there, and coming to Philly, and now a rising player in this Eagles defensive tackle room.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started playing football when I was in 6th grade. I loved watching basketball when I was a kid, but I think my dad knew that I was going to have a football body pretty early on. But yeah, I couldn't play because my parents wanted me to play with kids that were my age. And the weight that I had, the weight class I would have fit into, I would have been playing with kids that were like 2 to 3 years older. So they waited until I was old enough to play in an unlimited league, which was 6th grade for me. And yeah, I played tight end and defensive end. That's always what I played. I played 2 ways. So I was always in the field, and that was kind of something I was used to from playing tennis. Like, you never come off. It's always, on there, like, mentally locked in and all the rest of it. So yeah, started in 6th grade, got, better and better as time went on. And then I started really realizing that I had the shot to play at a collegiate level, probably, back half of my freshman year. We had a stacked team in high school. We probably had 30 Division I players.
Wow.
At our high school, guys.
Gilman High School.
Yep, the Gilman
High School.
The Gilman
famous,
High School.
World famous.
Yep. But we had guys I think we had 3 guys go to Stanford, including me. Guys go to Alabama, Penn State, all the rest of it. So, learning from them as a freshman, being able to play as a freshman, gave me that confidence. A really funny thing actually is that, when I think my sophomore year, when I was starting on the high school team that I was on, my first blocking assignment was Terrell Hall. His name was Terrell Hall back then. His name now is Terrell Lewis.
Our guy. Yeah.
First blocking assignment, 5-star defensive end from St. John's Academy. I was playing H-back, blocking and kicking out the defensive end the whole day. And man, was that a welcome to football moment for sure.
Well, I saw where you were a 4-star, which is pretty darn good. But how many of those guys you just referenced made it to the NFL? Anybody else besides yourself?
Yeah, so Devery Hamilton, I played with him at Stanford. He's also in the league. There's probably a couple of guys, other guys off the top of my head that I can remember. Darian Dalcourt also was on the Ravens offensive line. So yeah, it was a couple of guys that I played with that ended up making it to the big leagues.
All right, so as a 4-star recruit, and we'll get into your athleticism and your combine performance as well, but why Stanford, and who else did it come down to?
Yeah, so Stanford for me was always super attractive. I've always been into technology. I've always been into economics and the business, all the rest of it, the markets. So, when I was looking at schools, I kept on seeing on my phone, I look at YouTube, I look at Google, all those places. I'm naturally a pretty inquisitive person. So I always kind of tried to figure out who's making these applications. And it kept on being guys from the Stanford Graduate School of Business, Stanford undergrad, all the rest of it. And funny thing about that, Stanford, when they were recruiting me, they actually had a pitch that was pretty cool. A lot of guys send stuff in the mail, all this sort of stuff. They sent an iPad that had all of the apps on it, and all of them were apps that Stanford graduates had created.
Oh my!
And it was probably 30. It filled the entire page, and it was stuff that we'd all use, very Snapchat, cool. All the rest of it.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah. So for me, Stanford was, a place that I really was interested in and curious in, and I actually went there as a sophomore in high school. To Stanford Summer High School College. So I actually had to apply like a student. I had to write an essay, everything like that. So yeah, I was super interested there. I wanted to see how the West Coast would be. So I enjoyed it a lot.
Dave, now we know what Temple's doing wrong in their recruitment.
I mean, yeah, exactly. Were you thinking at all NFL at this point in your life?
Again, I think for me, I wanted to become the best football player. Right? Yeah, I wanted to become the best football player I could be, and I really do mean that. So I knew that I had the potential to be, exceptional at that level. And as I grew year to year to year, I started being able to realize, like, yeah, I really can do this, And I think my junior, my senior year, as it usually goes, that's where your confidence is the highest. So I knew that I could really make an impact in the NFL.
Dave is an avid reader. Had an interesting note about somebody very near to your high school, near and dear to your high school.
Yeah,
Dave,
so at Gilman High School, there was a book when I was coaching my kids, and my buddy and I were coaching our kids. We came across this book written by Joe Ehrman, who was a longtime player in the NFL, Baltimore Colts, and then was at Gilman High School head coach. And he wrote a book called A Season of Life, just about the love that football, kind of a metaphor for the rest of life, and how you take care of your brothers, and you're in an environment with all these different cultures, and you really have to be selfless, and you have to be a great teammate. And I know you hadn't had a chance to take a look at, but do you agree with that premise, that is what football represents in the big picture?
Absolutely. I think football has always been like a microcosm of our society, and what can be, very right with our society. You have people from all different walks of life that probably would have never met or crossed paths that are now not only meeting each other, but depending and relying on each other to do their job, and obviously there's a lot of, sweat, tears, pain, blood that goes into it. So I've always been a believer in that. I think in sports in general, that's a beautiful thing about sports is you get, chances to objectively fail or succeed, and there's not a lot of spaces in our society where you can objectively fail or succeed that aren't these large scale things you can't come back from. There's going to be a game next week, in most cases, unless it's playoffs, then you need to win. But that's the beautiful thing about the game is that you've always got a chance to improve, and you get objective feedback on whether you won or you lost.
And my son's favorite show, or at least one of them, is The Wire. So it didn't necessarily always show Baltimore in the best light, but did you watch The Wire?
So I actually have not watched The Wire. I've been told so many times that I need to, but it's funny because whenever I tell anybody that I tell people I'm from Baltimore. I'm actually from Ellicott City, Maryland. So a little bit out in the suburbs, but no one knows where that is. So I always say Baltimore. They're like, is it like The Wire? And I'm like, no, it is not completely like The Wire. But yeah, I gotta take a look at that show.
So now that you've been in Philadelphia, this is your second season up here. So yeah, on the calendar, really only about 13 months. That's really incredible. I'm sure it feels probably in a lot of ways longer than that.
Yeah, it's pretty wild that I've only been here for about a year and a month.
All right, and you even said this is your first time in a Chickies and Pete. So this is the staple, the best sports bar, not only in Philadelphia, but really anywhere. But I'm glad you're here getting indoctrinated. The terrific food, the crab fries, everything else here. But tell us about the things that you've been able to experience in Philadelphia and what you've gotten to enjoy so far.
Man, it's been fantastic. I talked about this a little bit earlier with my godbrother, my god family living up here. So being able to be close to them and being able to, eat with them on a Sunday night or do something like that has been amazing. But just in general, like the love that the city has for the team and how fired up everyone is wherever we go. Might be in a grocery store or whatever else. Like people will say something to you. It means something to everybody that's here. So I think the team has been hours is pretty cool. And being able to go back, hang out with my mom, my dad, and then get back up to Philly is definitely a treat and a gift.
And I'm sure they have no problem converting to being Eagles fans. Right?
They have absolutely no issue with that. My mom has got all the merch ever. My dad has got all the merch ever immediately.
Did they go Kelly green?
So my dad actually, that's the only jersey he wears. Yeah, so we came to a training camp practice. I'm pretty sure I have like a photo on my Instagram. He's got that 59 jersey in Kelly green.
Now, you talked about the fan base. I have been fortunate enough to be all over this country, experience all the different sports, and I think we have a unique. Now, people give Philadelphia a hard time for their fans, but I think the passion of the fans here is because everybody, every man, woman, and child is into not just the Philadelphia Eagles, for all the other teams, but the Eagles are number one.
No, and you can feel it too. I think that when you look at the city and you look at the way that the city goes, the way that the team goes, and the way that the fans react to us and the way they show up on the road relentlessly, like it is really a testament to the fan base, to the organization, that at the end of the day, we're all kind of tied in this together.
And we are, and it's funny because, as a player, you experience one part of the game and all the fans experience another. And I know how much they care, but every bar, every restaurant in the city of Philadelphia, the region, is packed on an Eagles game. And you realize that when we had the unfortunate ending Monday night, everyone had a lousy week. Looking forward to Sunday at 1 o'clock, and come 4 o'clock Sunday, you just made this region a very happy place for the next 7 days.
Hey, you gotta love it. When you have a team that rides and dies with the city, that's what comes with it. That's what comes with it.
So anyway, it's been fun talking about that, getting to know you a little bit more. When we come back, we're going to look ahead to next week because it never lets up.
No.
You get to enjoy this for how long do you get to enjoy a win?
About 24 hours, but the NFL is a "what have you done for me lately" league.
Yeah, and it sure is. And next week is going to be down in Tampa with another new challenge. And the schedule has been really tough for you guys in this early going. So you go from Brazil against Green Bay, home against the Falcons on a Monday night, down to New Orleans, and now playing Tampa, who's gotten off to a good start other than they flopped yesterday. So you never know.
Hey, great test.
It sure is. So you listen to the All-Pro Philly Show. We are live at Chickies and Pete in Marlton, New Jersey. Still another hour to go after us with The Blind Side with Todd Hermans and Trey Thomas, Jerrold Colton, Dave Spadaro, and our great guest, Thomas Booker of the Philadelphia Eagles. We'll be back to wrap it up and look ahead to Tampa Bay. You're listening to Fox Sports The Gambler.
It's the Daily Ticket with Sean Brace, 3 to 6 p.m. Monday to Friday.
Luke Arcani talking all things Phillies for us. But would you say that this team is the best team in baseball as we're getting ready for a playoff run here?
I would say, yeah. As far as the National League specifically, I think it's between us and the Dodgers, right? I don't think there's any real arguments to any other teams there. The difference for me is the pitching there. The Phillies pitching is miles more than this Dodgers team is. They have way better arms than LA. So that's kind of where I think they get the advantage there. As far as the American League, I think it's close with the Yankees and Cleveland. I think those are kind of the two teams. I still think Cleveland's a very underrated baseball team.
If you can wager on it, we're talking about it right here on The Gambler.
Station, baby.
Attention! If you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by sending out heart-stopping letters, aggressively garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance, and you better watch out because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it seem impossible to ever get out of debt. Don't let the tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, the #1 tax resolution firm. They're experts in the Fresh Start Initiative, one of the biggest breaks that the IRS has ever offered. If you qualify, you could save thousands. Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau, they'll fight to get you the best deal possible. Call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-354-2840. 800-354-2840. 800-354-2840.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
What's that sound? That's the sound of Downy Unstoppable scent beads going into your washing machine and giving your clothes freshness that lasts all day long. There it is again. It's like music to your ears, or more like music to your nose. That freshness is irresistible. Let's get a Downy Unstoppables bottle shake. And now a sniff solo. Nice. With Downy Unstoppables, you just toss, wash, wow, for all-day freshness.
Meet Cheryl. Hey. She's on vacation and lost in the moment. Unfortunately, so is her Chase debit card.
It's got to be somewhere.
Maybe she lost it at salsa night.
These skirts should have pockets.
Or maybe she lost it at Pilates.
3 and 2 and...
But she's not worried. With the Chase mobile app, she can lock her card till it turns up. Tools that help protect. One bank that puts you in control. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase, make more of what's yours.
Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. So at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited talk, text, and data for $30 a line when you buy 2. That's just $60 a month for 2 unlimited lines. So if you're 50 and up, make the switch and save. Come on, you've earned this. Call 1-888-FREEDOM. Or visit consumercellular.com today. Requires 2 lines of service, age validation, and credit approval, subject to system and area limits, taxes, and other fees apply.
Sweet chocolate reward. Sweet chocolate reward.
This is not just the sound of someone picking up a sweet treat at Walgreens. This is the sound of someone picking up a sweet treat right after receiving all their vaccines in one trip.
This is the sound of treating yourself because you protected yourself.
Stop by or schedule both your flu and COVID-19 vaccines today and grab yourself a sweet treat while you're at it. Vaccine subject to availability. State, age, and health-related restrictions may apply.
After finally seeing some showers this afternoon, it will stay cloudy overnight. The showers do move to the east off the coast. Low temperatures around 60 degrees for the city, 50s for the suburbs, so a cool night. And then the clouds hang around for Tuesday, but the chance of showers diminishes, a high temperature of 73. I'm meteorologist Adam Joseph with your 6 ABC forecast.
This report is sponsored by Bank of America. Bank of America has powerful digital solutions for local and global businesses, so you can make every move matter. Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. Bank of America N.A. Copyright 2024.
The free iHeartRadio app has over 100 commercial-free stations waiting for you to explore right now, like Alt 2K. A commercial-free look back to alternative from the 2000s. It just takes some time, little girl in the middle of the ride. With Foo Fighters, Weezer, Linkin Park, Green Day, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and more. Just open the free iHeartRadio app, search Alt 2K, and listen now. iHeartRadio, free never sounded so good. iHeartRadio.
Welcome back to Chickies and Pete from Marlton, New Jersey, and the All-Pro Philly Players Show. Jerrold Colton, Dave Spadaro, and we've got Eagles. Somebody we've enjoyed being with for the last hour, Thomas Booker. And I'm looking over outside or at the entrance to Chickies and Pete's, and in walked an imposing figure of Trey Thomas. I mean, that's an Eagles Hall of Famer, a 6'8" left tackle, and the kind of guy you go up against on Sundays.
Yeah, Jordan Mailata, all them dudes, 6'8". That's a lot of person.
He looks like a tackle, doesn't he?
What's tougher, Thomas? A bigger defensive lineman, or a bigger offensive lineman, or a smaller, quicker guy? Or like what body does a body type of an offensive lineman impact you in any way?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it all depends on the scheme, right? I think like the bigger maulers, they fit inside of those power run schemes where it's downhill. When you've got the smaller guys, they're tougher to deal with when they run the wide zone and all the quick stuff. So I think it all depends on the scheme that they're put into. But if you just had me pick which one's more difficult to deal with, I think the dudes who probably look like me, they're 6'4", they're 310, 320, can move.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys, great athletes. So definitely a difficult matchup.
Is that what you play? What do you play at? What weight?
I usually play it around 307 to 310.
Do you fluctuate?
Yeah. I got a little bit of fluctuation depending on how much Chick-fil-A I ate or how much I didn't eat. But yeah, probably around 307.
300-pound tennis player. I mean, come on.
You do wear it well. I mean, I just want
to try to.
But and interestingly enough, as we chart sort of your course that got you here to Philadelphia, and we hope keeps you here for a very long time, and clearly, and everyone can attest this, it's really not where you start, it's where you finish and how the journey goes. And so you come out of Stanford and you really put together an incredible combine. As I looked at the number, broad jump, and you still at speed and quickness still did 31 reps of the 225.
Yes, sir.
All right, so tell me, Houston was very lucky to get you in the 5th round, and we're lucky that you're here now in Philadelphia.
No, I'm lucky to be here for sure. It was actually kind of funny that combine day because they actually put me in the wrong group. So I was with the
receivers.
I was with the edge guys. Yeah, I was with the edge guys. I wasn't with the D tackles. So actually, a guy that I trained with, his name's Amari Burno. He broke the combine record for edge 40 times. I think around a 4.37. So he should have been. I should not have been right after him. I was not in that group. So I'm like, if he ran a 4.3, I at least got to get below 5. And
so he motivated you.
Yeah, I at least got to get below 5. And then also, we had Jordan Davis, that same combine, running the 4.7. So I'm like, man, I thought a 4.94 was pretty good, but we apparently got aliens in the combine. But yeah, no,
freaks.
Absolutely. The combine preparation process was definitely an interesting one for me. I just tried to lock into my details. I knew the drills that we had to run through. So try to have a clean run of it.
Draft day, you hear your name called. I mean, what was the scene? Tell me about the moment. Did you see the scroll coming across? Did somebody announce it? What was it like?
Yeah, so that was also an interesting thing too. So we were actually sitting in a room that originally didn't have any cell service. So I had to move somewhere else. We had food catered and everything. So, it's a really nerve-wracking day. So
they're trying to call you.
Yeah, so I didn't eat or drink anything for probably the first 4 rounds of the draft. So at a certain point, my parents, my godparents, my uncle, my aunt, they told me, like, you got to eat something. So I went downstairs, and literally, like, in the moment that I was away from all of my loved ones and my family members, I get a call from a Houston area code, and I pick it up, and it's it's the GM of the Texans, Nick Caserio, talking to me. So definitely a crazy moment, a culmination of a lot of effort that I put in over the years, and also just like a testament to the village that I had around me. So it was a definitely amazing moment.
Who cried? I would have been crying. By the
way. I think my mom cried. My dad had some grown man tears that he was not gonna let me see probably, but they were there. My sister for sure. And, me as well, you get emotional when you think about how far you've come along, specifically when this is something you wanted to do for so long. It's very rare that, you're blessed enough to be able to complete your dream, like unequivocally, being able to play in the NFL, something I've wanted to do for a very long time. I've seen guys on the TV since I was a little kid. So the idea that I get to be what I looked at as a kid is a beautiful one. It definitely makes you emotional.
And then ups and downs, Thomas. You played as a rookie. Then you weren't there, months later. Like, how do you deal with that moment? The moment when they tell you that they don't want you to be here?
Man, it's crazy. Obviously, if you're a football player that's gotten to that level, there's not been many times you've been told that you weren't good enough to make a team or to start or to play or whatever else. But NFL's a business, and that happens. And I think, again, it's a blessing in disguise because it's adversity. You get to figure out who you are when your back's against the wall. When someone tells you you're not good enough, you get cut. You're essentially fired, right? So having to come back from that, and still stay focused on getting better day by day by day, and watching those gains kind of grow, has been one of the most rewarding experiences for me in my life in general. Not only the past couple of years.
And you never want that feeling again, even though in general it never ends happy, but you can end like Fletcher Cox or Jason Kelsey, and that's
a really good career path to have.
or BG of course. But why is Philadelphia and Philadelphia Eagles better for Thomas Booker than it was in Houston?
Yeah, obviously I'm thankful to Houston for giving me a shot in the league. I think the Eagles organization is fantastic, specifically because of the defensive scheme that we have with Vic Fangio. Vic was actually at Stanford in 2008. So a lot of the same principles that we have, carry on over with that. So, when we were doing our installs in training camp, I've always, wrote down the plays in my notes in the iPad since I was a freshman in college. So I actually saw a lot of the same plays, same names for things, all the rest of it pop up. And just in terms of the playing style, the read and react, all the rest of it, that's what it was. So definitely a blessing to be with that.
All right, we've enjoyed being with you so much, but before we get out of here and give way to Trey Thomas and a little bit of a late Todd Hermans, we want to look ahead to the trip down to Tampa next week. And as we said, the road never gets any easier. And we got to turn the page from that great win in New Orleans and look ahead. So did you start watching Tampa yet?
Yeah, we start watching Tampa today in meetings, and I'm going to watch more of it tonight. They have a similar scheme in terms of their wide zone and all the rest of it to some teams we played so far this year. So yeah, you enjoy your win for a couple of hours, and then you're locked right back in.
And they gave up 7 quarterback sacks yesterday. Let's get after them.
We would love to have some of those.
And it is funny, the timing, because had they not given up, maybe they come in overly confident. Now they're going to try to work on that, but certainly, and they weren't facing a defensive line nearly as good as yours.
No, I'm excited for the opportunity. They have a great coaching staff. Baker Mayfield's been playing great ball. So, I'm excited to see what we can do against them. I'm really confident about our chances.
And then from the Eagles standpoint, they knocked you out last year.
Yeah.
So, and obviously it wasn't the best time for the Eagles. We were not going, the momentum had sort of slipped away. So chance to sort of reclaim as to your rightful ownership of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Absolutely. I think we're thinking about that, but also just, again, like, how do we build week to week and become a better football team? Because we know that we haven't played our best ball yet.
Great. Thomas, thank you. Awesome.
Appreciate you guys having me.
Great hour. Fast.
And truly, it's such a pleasure for you to come out here. I know Dave asked you, and you came right in, and you are welcome here anytime. And obviously the people here loved having you. So it really, for us, it's just a pleasure. And
a big hand for Thomas Booker, everybody, please.
Thomas Booker, number 69, Philadelphia Eagles defensive tackle.
Appreciate
And go Birds. Let's win next week.
Birds, baby. Let's get it. Let's get it.
And you're still a Bird. No, you were a Red Bird in college, a Cardinal, but
so technically, that's actually not our mascot.
Oh, because they changed it.
So the Stanford Cardinal isn't for like a cardinal bird. It's for the color red cardinal.
Wow.
So
Wait. Okay.
That's why we have
education. I apologize.
That's why we have that tree. Is we don't actually have an official mascot. I actually lived next to the Stanford tree my freshman year.
Well, they did change the name when it became politically incorrect as to what they were always called.
Indeed.
Is it like the Joshua tree? Like, is that a mythical thing, the Stanford tree?
So, yeah, it's actually something you have to audition for every single year.
Really?
And you have to do like these ludicrous, crazy things like, run through the campus naked or something like that to prove.
And did
to
you
the
do
current
that?
tree.
Yeah, what'd you do?
I did not do that. I think I left that up to the people that, were not playing football.
Oh, that was the promise to get you there.
Yeah. So I was not involved in any of that, but I did live next to one guy who did.
Did he make it?
Yeah, he actually did make it. He was.
Well,
a
you
tree.
better if you're going to do that.
Yeah. Yep.
Anyway, all right. Listen, it's been as Dave just said, a quick hour. We appreciate all the people that come out here and support us and everybody listening. We appreciate Spencer Shea around. We had a great server here today. We got Ty doing all the videos and all the audio stuff. John Jansen here, always getting us on air. We got Sam back at the studio, and thanks, Sam. Of course, my partner Dave Spadero, the Eagles Insider, and Pete Cherokee, the proprietor here. He usually stops by, but didn't get
where
here
it's repeat tonight.
I don't know. He must have something better. But what's better than here?
Nothing better.
So please join us every week here from 6 to 7, talking about hopefully a lot of Victory Mondays, and we'll be here next week. We're not 100% sure of our guest, so I won't say it, but we will have another great Eagles player join us right here on the All-Pro Philly Player Show. So on behalf of our guy who filled in great today, Thomas Booker, Dave Spadero, and Jerrold Colton saying thanks for listening. We'll catch you next week on the All-Pro Philly Player Show.
Thank you guys for having me. Appreciate it.
Let's do it. Thank you.
Fox Sports Radio, The Gambler. Now, total traffic for Philadelphia.
Watch out for a crash in Springfield, Montgomery County, Church Road at Lantern Lane. Also a crash in Chester County, North Bailey Road at Humpton Road. 95 northbound heavy approaching across the Jabbar Point Bridge with Phillies volume, and south of 95. Delays from Cotman to the